The phone's shrill ring cut through the evening silence like a blade. I set down my crystal tumbler, the aged bourbon sloshing against the side, and stared at the glowing screen. Janelle, after 2 years of nothing, she was calling. Rain drummed against the floor-to-ceiling windows of my Evanston home office. City lights blurred into watercolor streaks across Lake Michigan. The mahogany desk reflected the soft glow of my banker's lamp. Papers spread across its polished surface like battle plans. I let it ring twice more before answering. My thumb hovered over the screen, a small act of control. Finally, I accepted the call. "Hello, Janelle, Mama." Her voice carried that same manipulative sweetness I remembered, dripping with artificial warmth. "I've missed you so much." I ran my fingers along the edge of an old family photo, tucked between investment documents, 3 smiling faces from another lifetime. I flipped it face down. "Is that so? I wanted to invite you to family dinner this Saturday," she said, the words practiced and smooth. "We could catch up, maybe start fresh. I know it's been complicated. If you're watching this video, tell me where you're from, or what time it is for you." Complicated. I leaned back in my leather chair, the expensive material creaking softly, and settled my feet on the desk. 2 years ago, you threw me out with $10 and told me never to come back. Quite the memory gap you have there. Silence stretched between us, broken only by the rain's steady percussion. I could hear her breathing change, shallow and quick. I don't understand what wealth you're talking about, Mama. I just thought, of course, you don't know." The lie was so transparent, it was almost insulting. Everyone in our old circle knew about my success. Property records were public information. My transformation from broken exile to millionaire hadn't exactly been subtle. "Tell me, Janelle," I said, keeping my voice level. "What's the real reason for this sudden family reunion?" Her voice became smaller, more desperate. "Can't a daughter just want to see her mother?" I picked up my tumbler, swirling the amber liquid, the weight of real crystal, the burn of aged bourbon, luxuries that would have been fantasies 2 years ago. "Saturday evening, I assume at the old house." "Yes, 6 o'clock, she confirmed, relief creeping into her tone. "Daddy's making that pot roast you used to love." "Your father?" I paused, letting the words hang in the air. "Still playing house with Grace, I presume." "They're married now," she said quietly. "Congratulations to the happy couple." My voice remained flat, professional. "I'll be there." "Really?" The relief in her voice was pathetic, almost tangible. "Oh, Mama, that's wonderful. We can." I said, "I'll be there," I cut in, my tone sharp enough to sever the connection. "This should be educational for all of us." I ended the call without waiting for her response. The satisfying click of disconnection echoed in the sudden quiet. The game had just begun. I rose from my chair, joints protesting slightly, and drained the last of the bourbon. The burn was a familiar anchor. I walked through my house like a woman surveying conquered territory, each room a testament to a victory hard won. The Italian marble foyer, the gourmet kitchen with its professional-grade appliances, the living room with its soft leather sectional and cashmere throws, everything chosen deliberately, expensively. Janelle's call had cracked something open, memory fragments, spilled through like water through a broken dam, that summer afternoon in 2023. Walking into our cramped Gary house to find my life dismantled, suitcases by the front door, Leon on the couch next to a woman I'd never seen before, tall and graying at the temples, wearing my grandmother's reading glasses like she had a right to them. Grace was moving in, he'd announced without looking up from his phone. "You need to leave." No preamble, no explanation. 28 years of marriage ended with the casual tone he'd used to dismiss a telemarketer. I moved through my current kitchen, fingers trailing across polished granite. The contrast was a physical blow. That day, dirty dishes had filled our old sink. Today, my kitchen was pristine, magazine-worthy. Janelle had emerged from her bedroom, overnight bag slung over her shoulder. Her eyes held something I'd never seen before. Cold calculation. "You're a failure, Mama," she'd said, her voice steady as a judge pronouncing sentence. "Daddy's right. You don't belong here anymore." The $10 bill she'd pressed into my palm was still crisp, probably fresh from an ATM. "For gas," she'd explained, as if the gesture was generosity rather than a final crushing insult. The memory followed me upstairs to my master bedroom. Silk curtains, king-sized bed with Egyptian cotton sheets, a reading chair positioned perfectly to catch the morning light from the lake. The Motel 6 room had smelled of industrial disinfectant and broken dreams. Thin walls, a thinner mattress, the constant hum of highway traffic just beyond the cracked parking lot asphalt. I'd paid the weekly rate up front, counting my crumpled bills twice as the desk clerk watched with bored suspicion. Instant noodles for dinner. Instant coffee for breakfast. On my nightstand now sat a silver-framed photograph, the last family portrait before everything crumbled. Janelle at 26, still playing the devoted daughter. Leon with his perfect smile already planning my disposal, and me oblivious as a lamb approaching slaughter. Somewhere in that industrial-scented motel room, between the shame and the anger, something else had taken root. Determination, the kind that grows best in darkness. Morning light streamed through my bedroom windows, turning Lake Michigan into molten gold. I was already awake, an old habit from my cleaning service days, though now I woke to Italian espresso instead of instant coffee desperation. The kitchen welcomed me with the soft hum of expensive appliances. I ground fresh beans, the rich aroma filling the space like incense in a cathedral of my own making. While the machine worked its magic, I unfolded the Wall Street Journal and reviewed overnight market movements. 2 years ago, I'd been scanning classified ads for housekeeping jobs. Now, I was calculating dividend yields on a 7-figure portfolio. It started with the $15,000 from the divorce settlement, my share of what Leon had deemed worthless assets. The condemned house on the south side had looked like urban decay made manifest. Broken windows, a sagging porch, foundation issues that scared off every other buyer. But I had seen potential where others saw problems. My office files held the proof of that first gamble. The purchase contract, framed now like a diploma, showed the sale price, $42,000. 4 months of 16-hour renovation days followed. I taught myself plumbing and electrical work through YouTube videos and library books. My hands grew rough again, my shoulders aching from labor I hadn't done since my 20s. In December, it sold for $117,000. After everything, a $65,000 profit. My first real victory. The portfolio folder held the rest of the story. Property after property, each purchased more ambitious than the last. Winter 2023 became spring 2024 became a summer of success. Every profit was reinvested, every lesson learned and applied. The turning point had come in October. A foreclosure in Gold Coast. The owner defaulted on renovation loans and the bank was desperate to unload it. I'd walked through the half-finished shell and seen what others missed. Premium location, solid bones, a $200,000 purchase price. 6 months of careful restoration. It sold for $420,000. That profit had changed everything. I sipped my espresso, rich and complex, nothing like the bitter gas station coffee that had sustained me. Saturday's dinner invitation wasn't random. Janelle was drowning, and she thought I was her life preserver. The $10 gift giver was ready to discuss terms. 40 hours passed before the second call came. I'd spent Thursday morning reviewing acquisition contracts, fresh coffee, steaming beside financial projections that would have seemed impossible 3 years ago. The March rain drummed steadily against my office windows. My phone buzzed. Leon's name appeared on the screen like a ghost from another lifetime. I let it ring 3 times before answering. Hello, Leon, Dorothy. His voice carried that same syrupy smoothness he'd perfected during our marriage. I hope I'm not interrupting anything important. You never worried about that before? I said, picking up a pen. What do you need? It's about Janelle, he began, the rehearsed tremor in his voice almost convincing. She's facing an unexpected financial crisis. And I thought, well, as her mother. Background noise filtered through the connection. Papers rustling, a whispered urgency I couldn't quite make out. What kind of crisis? I kept my voice neutral, the same tone I'd use with a contractor trying to inflate an estimate. Poor business decisions. The creditors are threatening legal action, he said, his breathing quickening slightly. She could lose everything. Tell him about the legal troubles came clearly through the phone. Janelle's voice, sharp with anxiety. Leon's pause lasted exactly 3 seconds. I mean, the situation is quite serious. Just 50,000 would solve the immediate crisis. The number tumbled out too quickly, too practiced. Ask for more, Daddy. Janelle's coaching carried perfectly through whatever cheap speakerphone they were using. The silence that followed could have cut glass. I see, I said, setting down my pen. And what makes you think I have that kind of money lying around? Well, I heard Leon's voice crack like thin ice. People talk, you know, about your success. People talk about many things. I swiveled my chair toward the window. Not all of it accurate. Dorothy, please, he's your daughter. My daughter threw me out with $10 and called me a failure. I said the words calm, measured, factual. Now she needs 50,000 from a failure. That was different. She was upset. She was honest. I picked up my coffee cup, brutally, refreshingly honest. But you're her mother. Not 1 cent. The finality in my voice surprised even me. Ever. You can't be serious. I ended the call mid-sentence. The rain continued its steady percussion against my windows. Exactly what I'd expected. Exactly what I'd hoped. Friday morning brought crisp sunlight through my office windows, transforming Lake Michigan into hammered silver. I sat with fresh coffee, phone recording app ready, prepared to confirm what I already suspected. I practiced my defeated tone twice, then dialed Janelle's number. She answered on the second ring, her voice bright with expectation. Mama, I was hoping you'd call. Janelle, sweetheart. I injected just enough tremor to sound authentic. I have terrible news about my investments. What kind of news? Her eagerness dimmed noticeably. The market took a terrible turn yesterday. I've lost almost everything, I said, the lie coming easier than expected. Property values collapsed. Leverage positions called in. It's a disaster. Silence stretched between us like a chasm opening. How much is everything? She asked carefully. I'm meeting with bankruptcy lawyers next week, I said, pausing for effect as I stared at my actual bank statement showing 8 figures. The foreclosure notices start arriving Monday. Foreclosure notices. Her voice had gone flat, calculating. But you said you were doing well. I thought I was. Turns out I was over-leveraged, too confident. I allowed genuine sadness to creep in, not for lost money, but for the truth I was about to uncover. I'm so sorry this affects our Saturday plans. The pause that followed lasted exactly 12 seconds. I counted. What does this mean exactly? Janelle's tone had shifted completely. No sympathy, no comfort, pure arithmetic. How much is left? Maybe enough for a small apartment if I'm lucky. What? Seriously. The mask slipped entirely now. Then don't come to dinner Saturday. No hesitation. Just cold dismissal. Swift as a blade between the ribs. I understand completely. My voice stayed steady through sheer force of will. I mean, what's the point if you can't? She caught herself, but it was too late. I'm sorry, Mama, but this is really complicated timing. Thank you for being so direct about your feelings. It's not about feelings. It's about goodbye, Janelle. I ended the call and sat motionless for a full minute, staring at the phone. The recording had captured everything. Her voice, her priorities, her complete lack of concern. Perfect. I saved the file with today's date. The confirmation was cold, hard, and exactly what I needed. But a recording of her character wasn't enough. I needed proof of her actions. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. An old memory flickered. Something about a shared family cloud account we'd set up years ago for photos and documents. I hadn't thought about it since the divorce. I opened my laptop and typed in the old credentials, half expecting them to be access granted. The interface was a digital graveyard, vacation photos from a decade ago, old tax documents, school reports. I started clicking through folders, a digital archaeologist digging through the ruins of my former life. Then I saw it, a folder labeled J Projects, password protected. I tried her birthday, denied her dog's name, denied, on a whim. I typed in the name of the boy she'd had a crush on in high school. The folder opened. Inside were documents that made the blood run cold in my veins. Business plans for Lux Living Essentials dated 6 months before she launched the store. The documents outlined a model based on aggressive social media marketing, high-priced items, and a fulfillment strategy that was, in a word, non-existent. It was a blueprint for fraud. A subfolder contained Leon's contributions, brainstorming notes, lists of plausible but difficult to verify illnesses, research on online fundraising platforms and how to maximize sympathy. They had planned it all meticulously. I had found the smoking gun. My hand trembled as I moved the cursor to download the files. As the download progress bar began to crawl across the screen, my phone buzzed with an incoming email. The subject line read, "Security alert. Successful login from a new device." It was an automated notification from the cloud service. Leon's email address was still listed as the primary account holder. A wave of ice washed over me. He would know I was in there. No, I muttered, watching the progress bar. It was agonizingly slow. I needed those files. They were the key to everything. Irrefutable proof of intent. The download was at 40% when a notification popped up on my screen. This folder is no longer available. I clicked refresh. The J Projects folder was gone. I frantically navigated back to the main directory. Everything was gone. Vacation photos, tax documents, all of it. A single message remained. This account has been permanently deleted by the owner. He had torched the whole thing. Panic. He had wiped the entire digital history to get rid of the evidence. I slammed my fist on the desk. The sharp pain, a dull echo of my fury. I had it. The proof was right there in my hands, and I had lost it. The advantage was gone, vaporized into the digital ether. I was left with nothing but the memory of what I'd seen, a story no one would believe without proof. I leaned back, taking a slow, deep breath. Fine, if a lucky break wasn't going to win this, then a professional, aggressive strategy would have to suffice. No more games. It was time to bring in an expert. By Monday morning, I'd compiled enough surface information to know I needed professional help. Janelle's failed business venture showed dozens of customer complaints. Leon's Instagram medical fundraising looked increasingly suspicious. Marcus Reed's downtown office occupied the 15th floor of a glass tower overlooking the Chicago River. Former FBI specializing in financial fraud investigations. Exactly what I needed. Mrs. Voss Reed was younger than expected, mid-40s with sharp eyes and a firm handshake. You mentioned needing background verification on 2 individuals. I settled into the client chair, noting the diplomas and commendations covering his walls. My daughter and ex-husband have approached me for significant financial assistance, I said, my tone all business. I need complete background checks before making any decisions. Standard due diligence. Reed opened a fresh file folder. What specific areas concern you? Any legal vulnerabilities, fraudulent activities, or misrepresented circumstances? I said, sliding across the basic information sheets I'd prepared. Discretion is essential. They cannot know about this investigation. Reed reviewed the documents. 1 week for comprehensive reports. My fee is $5,000, expenses included. Acceptable. I wrote the check immediately. How detailed will your findings be? Everything legally obtainable, he said, tucking the check into the folder. Public records, court filings, business registrations, customer complaints, social media analysis. If there's deception involved, I'll find it. I left Reed's office feeling a sense of control returning. The investigation was in motion. That evening, as I was reviewing property blueprints, my personal phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. The message was short, the words, chilling. They're playing you. It's deeper than you think. Grace is the key. I stared at the screen. Who sent this? Was it a trap from Leon? An attempt to muddy the waters? Or was it a genuine warning? Grace, the woman who had replaced me, who sat in my spot on the couch. I had written her off as a passive accomplice, a fool, blinded by Leon's charms. The message suggested she was something more or something less. I didn't reply. I saved the number and waited. The seed of suspicion now planted. Wednesday brought the preliminary report. Reed's voice over the phone carried no judgment, just facts delivered with professional precision. Your daughter operated an online store called Lux Living Essentials from January through October 2024, he said, and I could hear him sliding papers across his desk. She collected approximately $150,000 from customers and delivered virtually nothing. The evidence was damning. Screenshots of fake product listings, customer complaint compilations, payment records showing money collected but no fulfillment. Janelle had run a systematic fraud operation. Multiple customers are considering legal action, Reed continued, but they lack organization. No formal charges have been filed yet. What about my ex? I asked, my grip tightening on the phone. More interesting, Reed said. He's raised significant money through Instagram medical fundraising, claiming various illnesses. Medical records show no serious health issues whatsoever. It was all there, just as I'd seen in the deleted files. But now it was real. It was documented. That night, the unknown number texted again. Meet me tomorrow, 10 a.m., Navy Pier. Come alone. It was a risk, but the potential reward was too great to ignore. The next morning, I stood by the waterfront, the smell of salt and fried fish in the air. A woman in a baseball cap and sunglasses approached, her shoulders hunched. It was Grace. She looked nervous, her eyes darting around. Thanks for coming, she said, her voice low. You're the one who texted me, I stated, not making it easy for her. What is this about? Leon, Janelle, They're running me into the ground, she confessed, her words tumbling out in a rush. They used my business accounts to launder the money from the store, from the donations. It's all mixed up with my legitimate income. If an audit ever happens, I'm finished. So that was it. Self-preservation. She wasn't an ally out of morality, but out of fear. The best kind of ally. Why? Tell me. Because you're the only one with the resources to stop them without bringing the whole house down on me, she admitted. I want out. I can give you everything. Bank statements, transaction records, dates, amounts, undeniable proof. She handed me a flash drive. This is everything I have. Use it. Just keep my name out of it until you have to. She turned and walked away, disappearing into the crowd of tourists. I held the flash drive in my hand. The unexpected ally had delivered the weapons I needed. Friday's final meeting with Reed completed the picture. I gave him the contents of the flash drive and he integrated the financial data into his report. The result was an ironclad, comprehensive dossier revealing the full scope of their deceptions. Your ex-husband's unreported donation income could trigger federal tax investigations, Reed explained, laying out the documents. Your daughter faces potential felony charges if these customers organized properly, and these bank records. He tapped the statements Grace had provided. This is a direct link. It proves intent to defraud and conceal. I studied the thick folders, amazed at how thoroughly they'd constructed their house of cards, both of them living on borrowed time, borrowed money, borrowed credibility. Excellent work, I said, standing to leave, the folders tucked securely under my arm. Send your final invoice to my business address. The drive home took exactly 23 minutes. Time enough to process what I'd learned and appreciate the scope of possibilities now available. They'd handed me every weapon I needed for perfect legal revenge. Back in my office, I spread the evidence across my mahogany desk like battle plans. It was time to set the trap. I picked up the phone. Time for the performance of a lifetime. Janelle answered on the first ring, her voice tight with barely contained anxiety. Mama. Janelle, sweetheart. I injected just enough excitement to sound authentic. You won't believe what happened. Wait, what emergency deal? She asked, confused. I thought you lost everything. Market volatility, you know, I said breezily, flipping through her fraught files while I spoke. One day you're down, the next you're up. I not only recovered everything, I made an additional $3 million in the process. The silence that followed lasted exactly 8 seconds. I could practically hear the gears shifting in her head. Oh my goodness. Her voice transformed completely, desperation replaced by calculated sweetness. That's incredible. I'm so happy for you. I suppose that Saturday dinner invitation is back on the table, I said, leading her into the trap. About Saturday, she paused, gathering her courage. I was hoping we could still have that family dinner. I've missed you so much. The same voice that had coldly dismissed me 24 hours earlier now dripped with artificial warmth. Of course, sweetheart. Family comes first, I said, turning to Leon's medical records. Though, I have to ask, how are you doing financially? You seemed concerned about something earlier. Well, she drew out the word, preparing her pitch. I hate to even mention this, but I've been having some business difficulties. Nothing serious, just cash flow problems. If you could spare just $200,000, it would solve everything, she said, the lie coming so naturally I almost admired the skill. Give me time to sort out these misunderstandings. $200,000. I repeated thoughtfully. That's a considerable amount. Let me think about how best to help my daughter. Really, you'd consider it? The relief in her voice was palpable. Mama, you have no idea how much this means to me. We'll discuss it properly on Saturday, I said. Family is family. I ended the call and leaned back in my chair. The test had confirmed my worst fears while simultaneously providing perfect justification for what came next. Friday morning found me in Merritt Klein's downtown office. The complete evidence files were spread across his conference table like pieces of a complex puzzle. Rain streaked the windows 40 floors above the Chicago River. This is solid evidence, Dorothy Merritt said, reviewing the fraud documentation with professional detachment. She's clearly committed intentional fraud, not mere business incompetence. I'd known Merritt for 15 years. He understood both my legal needs and my emotional investment in this case. How quickly can we move once the papers are served? The timing you're requesting is aggressive, but entirely legal, he said, organizing customer complaints into chronological order. Process server can be there at 7:30 tomorrow evening. That gives you time to arrive first. Perfect, I said. I want her to understand that actions have consequences. The afternoon dissolved into systematic phone calls. Marcus Reed's contact list provided names, numbers, and loss amounts for 23 defrauded customers. A 34-year-old teacher from Gary named Renee Stoll emerged as the natural spokesperson for the group. "We've been trying to find her for months," she explained, her voice carrying controlled anger. $5,000 for a dining room set that never existed. "I saved for 8 months for that furniture." "You won't be alone anymore," I assured her. "Professional legal representation, shared costs, maximum impact." By evening, Merritt's team had worked overtime preparing comprehensive lawsuit documentation. The legal machinery was in motion. With the legal assault on Janelle locked and loaded, Leon required a different approach. Medical fraud deserved public exposure. I arranged to meet Jessica Chen at a neutral downtown coffee shop. The Chicago Tribune's investigative reporter specialized in social media fraud. "I have documented evidence of systematic fraud by a major Chicago area Instagram influencer," I began, sliding a manila envelope across the small table. Jessica's professional skepticism was immediate. "Anonymous sources require exceptional verification." "What kind of fraud?" "He's collected over $200,000 in donations for a fake medical condition," I said, watching her expression shift from doubt to sharp interest. "The medical records prove he's never had the illness he's been claiming." She opened the envelope, scanning Marcus Reed's documentation with practiced efficiency. "These are serious allegations," she said, her voice carrying the controlled excitement of a journalist sensing a major story. "This isn't revenge journalism," I assured her. "This is public service, protecting future victims." "If this checks out," she said, her eyes alight, "we can publish online within hours. The tax implications alone will trigger a federal investigation." We agreed on a publication time, 8 p.m. Saturday, precisely during our family dinner. Next, I contacted the IRS tip line. I spoke with David Park, a Chicago office tax fraud investigator who specialized in social media income tax evasion cases. "I'm reporting systematic tax evasion by an individual with substantial unreported social media income," I explained, providing Leon's details and a summary of the evidence, including the proof from Grace's flash drive. "What's your relationship to the subject?" Park asked, his voice all business. "A concerned citizen with access to publicly available information and legitimate financial records obtained through legal investigation," I replied smoothly. "We'll need documented evidence," he said. "Complete documentation is being transmitted to your office today." Estimated unreported income exceeds $200,000 over 18 months. The IRS investigation would begin Monday morning with formal audit proceedings. Leon's reputation would crumble while he sat at his own dinner table. By 5:30 p.m., both attacks were coordinated and ready. Legal papers for Janelle at 7:30. Media destruction for Leon at 8. A perfect storm of consequences for 2 years of systematic deception and family betrayal. Merritt confirmed the final details. Process server confirmed for tomorrow evening. Private residence, multiple witnesses present. This will be memorable. David Chen, our process server, had 20 years of experience. His calm professionalism promised flawless execution. Family dinner setting means emotional witnesses, he had explained on our call. Perfect for psychological impact, assuming that's your goal. Psychological impact is exactly the goal, I had replied. I closed my laptop and checked my watch. In 24 hours, justice would finally be served alongside dinner. The 45-minute drive to Gary gave me time to savor the approaching moment. I pulled into the familiar driveway at exactly 7 p.m. The house looked smaller than I remembered. A cheap stage for the drama about to unfold. Warm light spilled from the dining room windows, a facade of domestic tranquility that would soon shatter. I carried an elegant gift box, empty but perfectly wrapped for psychological effect. Every detail mattered. Leon opened the door with theatrical enthusiasm, jewelry glinting from recent donation purchases. "Dorothy, you look wonderful. Success really suits you." "It's good to be back in this house," I replied, stepping into the foyer where I'd once been handed $10 and my walking papers. Brings back so many memories. The dining room table was set for 4, candles flickering over Leon's best china. Janelle emerged from the kitchen, nervously smoothing her dress, clearly chosen to project a success she didn't possess. "Mama." Her embrace felt calculated, practiced. "I'm so glad you could make it. Water under the bridge, sweetheart." I placed the gift box prominently on the side table. "I brought a special surprise for everyone, but good things come to those who wait." Grace nodded from her position near the television. Uncomfortable, informal attire, Dinner conversation flowed with forced pleasantries. I checked my watch discreetly. 7:25. 5 minutes. We were thinking, Janelle began, right on schedule. Since you've been so successful with investments, maybe we could discuss a family partnership. Family is everything, Leon added, squeezing my hand. We should always be there for each other. Absolutely, I agreed, watching the second hand sweep toward 7:30. It's not really a loan, Janelle continued, warming to her rehearsed pitch. More like a partnership. 200,000 would solve some immediate cash flow issues and position us for amazing returns. The doorbell rang at precisely 7:30. Janelle froze mid-sentence, confusion flickering across her features. Were we expecting someone? How unexpected, I said, barely containing my satisfaction. What remarkable timing. She rose reluctantly, annoyed by the interruption. Through the dining room doorway, I watched her open the front door to a professional-looking man in a business suit. Janelle Voss, he asked, I have legal documents for you from the Cook County Circuit Court. The color drained from her face instantly. What? There must be some mistake. You're being served with a class action lawsuit regarding fraudulent business practices and customer deception. Please sign here acknowledging receipt. This is ridiculous, Leon called from the dining room. We're having a family dinner here. But I could see Janelle's hands shaking as she fumbled with the legal papers. Reality was crashing through her carefully constructed facade like a wrecking ball. Ma'am. This is regarding the Lux Living Essentials online store and multiple counts of intentional fraud. The process server's professional calm contrasted sharply with the chaos now erupting. Janelle stumbled back toward the dining room, papers rustling in her trembling fingers. Leon was already reaching for his phone, confident he could solve anything with the right connections. With your resources, Dorothy, we can hire the best lawyers in Chicago, he said, his voice carrying the confident authority of someone accustomed to manipulating his way out of problems. This is just a misunderstanding that money can solve. How many customers are listed here? Janelle's voice cracked as she scanned the lawsuit details. $150,000. I don't have that kind of money. We stick together as a family, Leon declared. Still confident as he opened Instagram to contact his legal connections, his expression shifted immediately from confidence to confusion. The screen was flooded with notifications, thousands of angry comments and messages appearing faster than he could process them. What? Why are there thousands of comments calling me a fraud? His voice grew smaller with each word. Someone posted an article. Local influencers. Fake illness exposed. I checked my watch. 8 to 5 p.m. Jessica Chen was right on schedule. They have my medical records. Leon's panic was building. How is that possible? These people are saying I stole money from cancer patients. Grace moved closer, reading over his shoulder. Leon, what illness? What are these people talking about? It's lies. All lies. But his voice lacked conviction as he frantically tried to delete comments that were appearing faster than he could remove them. Dorothy, you have to help us, Leon pleaded, turning to me. Use your money to make this go away. Make it go away. I finally spoke, my voice as calm as a lake surface. Justice doesn't disappear because you're uncomfortable with it. Janelle looked up from her legal papers, finally grasping the coordination. Mama, did you know about this? I find it fascinating how quickly family loyalty appears when legal consequences arrive. I stood slowly, straightening my jacket. And the timing is remarkable, isn't it? This is coordinated, Leon whispered, the full scope of his destruction becoming clear. Someone planned this. I already gave you both my surprise, I said, moving toward the door as the chaos reached its crescendo. It's called accountability. You can't just leave us like this. Janelle's desperation was complete now. We're family. I paused at the threshold, savoring the moment I'd waited 2 years to deliver. 2 years ago, you threw me out with $10 and called me worthless. Tonight you learned what that $10 was really worth. The door closed behind me, with the finality of justice served cold and complete. 4 months later, I stood on a Turks and Caicos beach watching the sun dissolve into the Caribbean. The warm sand beneath my feet felt like the opposite of everything that industrial motel had represented. Poverty, humiliation, desperation replaced by choice, abundance, and peace. Merritt had called that morning with the final legal updates. Janelle received the maximum civil judgment. He'd reported, satisfaction in his voice, $153,000 in restitution plus court costs. The judge was particularly harsh about the systematic nature of her fraud. And the criminal charges? I asked. Felony fraud conviction, 3 years probation, community service, and a permanent criminal record. Justice delivered through proper channels. Exactly as I'd planned. Leon's destruction had been equally thorough but more public. Jessica Chen's article triggered an avalanche of investigative journalism. The IRS audit revealed $200,000 in unreported income. Penalties and back taxes consumed every asset he'd accumulated through deception. He now worked commercial cleaning jobs, his glamorous lifestyle replaced by harsh economic reality. Grace had filed for divorce in May. My phone buzzed with a real estate alert. Another property opportunity in downtown Chicago. Another chance to build legitimate wealth through actual skill rather than manipulation. "You seem so peaceful here," said Raymond, the attorney I'd met during my Yellowstone trip last month. He was intelligent, successful, honest, everything my previous family relationships had lacked. "Like you've let go of something heavy." "I learned that some people earn their place in your life," I replied, watching the waves erase footprints in the sand. "Others simply occupy space until you realize their true value." 3 years ago, I'd measured my worth by their approval. Now I understood that real value came from character, integrity, and the courage to demand justice when betrayed. The $10 they'd handed me wasn't an insult. It was an accurate assessment of what they thought family loyalty was worth. They just miscalculated everything else. The sun disappeared into the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. Tomorrow, I'd fly home to Chicago, where new opportunities waited alongside the satisfaction of justice achieved through patience and proper channels. 2 years ago, they'd left me with $10 and called me worthless. Today, I understood my true value had nothing to do with their opinions and everything to do with my character. If this story resonated with you, leave a like and consider subscribing. You can also drop any comment below. Even just one word. Maybe tell me where you're watching from, or what time it is right now. Sometimes one word is enough to say, "You were here."